Professor G. Manlopo.
This is all about mixed cost, no? Mixed cost. All right. What do you mean of mixed cost? No? Diba? Meaning combination of your variable, no? At the same time your fixed cost, no? That's why mixed cost is also known as semi-variable, no? Semi-variable cost. Take note, no? Semi-variable cost. All right. Meaning it changed in total but not proportionately with the changes in your activity level. Alright, there are two methods, no? So very important pala in terms of the mixed cost to identify or to separate the variable and the fixed cost. Diba? There are two methods for this. You have your high-low method, diba? You have your high-low method. Ito yung pinakamadali, no? Alright. And you have your regression, diba? You have your regression. So later, I will discuss one by one, no? Regression analysis and your high-low method. All right. So very important first is the high-low method. How do we compute for the high-low method? Diba? So high-low method is the aggregate or mathematical method, no, that uses cost incurred at the high and at the low level of activity. All right. That's why here, first step is to get first for the variable cost per unit. All right, take note of this. When you compute for the variable cost per unit, no, is, take note dito nakakamali, no? First is to get first the high activity. All right. Ito ang unang gagawin niyo, wag the cost. After that, kung nakuha mo na yung activity mo, get the high cost. Alright. Minus, your number 3 step is to get for your low activity. Alright. After that, you look for high cost. Yan. Sorry. Correct me. It should be low cost. I will read it. Be your low. Number 3 is to get the low activity. After that, low activity, get now the low cost. Sir, saan ba nakakamali? Inuuna muna nila yung high cost minus the low cost. Then high activity and low activity. Wrong. It should be high activity followed by the high cost, low activity followed by the low cost. Yan. And after that, compute now for the fixed cost. So basically, napakadali lang naman, di ba? Total cost minus the variable cost per unit, di ba? We multiply it by, depende low, high muna, pwedeng high activity. Alright. Yan. Or total cost is minus variable cost, okay, is equal, multiply by low activity. Alright. Ano yung basic rule dito? Dapat yan ay parehas ang fixed cost mo. Pag hindi, there's something wrong in your computation. There's something wrong in terms of your variable cost per unit siguro or your fixed cost per unit. Yan. Alright. That's your high method and low, high-low method and regression analysis. Next, how about, sir, about number 2, no? About regression analysis, no? How to compute for regression analysis? Again, compute first for the variable cost per unit. How do we compute for the variable cost per unit? Take note. Summation of EXY. X is the activity, Y is your cost, no? Minus N. N is basically the number of the variables. You multiply it by X, average, all right? And you also multiply it by the Y, average. X is the cost. Sorry, X is the activity. Y is the cost. You divide it by your summation of EX squared. Okay? You minus here N and you multiply it by EX squared, pero it should be to multiply, no, by itself. Okay? Yan. And after that, no, also we will compute also for your fixed cost. No, fixed cost, sorry, should be total fixed cost. How do we compute for your fixed cost? All right. Fixed cost is basically can be computed as Y. Okay? Now, Y should be the average. Okay? Di ba, Y is the cost, correct? Because Y is your total cost minus your variable cost per unit. Saan to galing? Di ba nandito yon as the variable cost per unit? We multiply it by your X average, which is basically your activity, no? Activity average. All right. In order for you to compute for this high-low method and the regression method, no? For example, no? Let's say you have here January. No? Let's say this is your activity. January, February, okay? You have here March, no? And you have here April. Yan. All right. For example, miles driven, meaning this is your activity X, and Y is basically your cost. Okay? X is basically, let's say, miles driven is 20,000. All right. Let's say this is 40,000. Okay? This is 35. And this is, let's say, 50,000. All right. And you have your cost, Philippine peso. Let's say this is 30,000. Okay? This is 48,000. 49. And you have here 63. Yan. All right. High-low method muna. Number 1 is to get first for the variable cost per unit. How do we compute that? All right. Again, ano yung first step? Not the cost, but the activity first. Get first the activity. Pinakamataas, di ba? 50,000. All right. No? After that, magkano yung activity, magkano yung cost ng highest activity? Di ba? 63,000. We put here 63,000. Minus, minus. Next, get the lowest cost, to say 30,000. Yan. Sorry, lowest, sorry, correct me if I'm wrong, no? Sorry. It should be 20,000, okay? Because activity of 20,000. All right, next. How much is the cost of the 20,000 activity? You have 30,000. Take note of this. Nagkataon lang dito na ang highest activity mo is also the highest cost. Lowest activity is also lowest cost. Paano sa board exam? First step is the X followed by Y. Alright. Alright. So magkano to? I think this is the variable cost per unit here. Just compute, no? I think 1.10 is the variable cost per unit. That's basically your variable cost per unit. How about your fixed cost? Okay? To compute for your fixed cost. Diba? Alam natin na total cost minus variable cost per unit, you multiply it by the activity. Okay? So, take note. First cost, in terms of your highest, you have 63,000. Alright. You have also here variable cost. Alright. Variable cost of 1.10, you multiply it by 50,000. Ilan yan? I think this is 55,000. Alright? So, how much now would be your fixed cost? Okay? Fixed cost here is at 8,000. Okay? So, pwedeng gawin siya in terms of your high or pwede naman in terms of your low. Yan. How about low? So, meaning you have 30,000 here. Diba? Then, 20,000. So, 20,000. Wala lang ha. 20K times 1.10.